Hey guys. So here we are today. We've got LZ4, the incredibly popular compression algorithm. And basically all I want to do is I want to show that there's a surprisingly pervasive performance hit, especially when using a larger hash map. So if we look here, this is the distance check. Basically, if you're outside of the 64 kilobyte sliding window, then you continue, and that looks fine, and I thought it looked fine for a while. But we're going to be doing some code edits here, and soon enough you'll see that it's not the case. So we're just going to do some benchmarking here of the Silesia corpus. As you can see here, it's running at 620 megabytes per second. That's not how fast it normally runs, but I am recording, so I think that's hurting it. Yeah. As we can see here, that's about the benchmark speed it can hit. Now, to make this really obvious, we're going to change the hash map size. Even though it's not the hash map size of the default LZ4, we're going to use a way larger hash map size. We're going to use 64 kilobytes. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, doesn't using a 64 kilobyte cache, doesn't that, make a lot of the hash map hits outside of the L1 cache? That would be very bad for performance, right? And well, yeah, I agree. Some of the entries are going to be hitting the L2 cache, and yeah, and we're definitely going to see a performance drown. We're going to see, well, not drown, we're going to see the performance go down. So now if we do this, yeah, the compression's higher, but look at that, 473 megabytes per second, way worse, right? Well, here's what we're going to do here, and this is going to be crazy. All we're going to do is we're going to refactor this code. We're going to ignore a little bit here. We're just going to do this and invert the condition. Now, you're probably thinking, what difference does that make? And just for safety, I'm also going to do it down here. Let's get rid of all that. Ignore that for now. That's just for safety if you're using certain modes. We're also going to short circuit this. And now we're going to recompile. And you're probably thinking, well, that can't make much of a performance hit. Oh, what did I miss? That's line 1099. Oh, obviously that. Okay, so we're just gonna do this. We're gonna make it. And now you're probably thinking, well, nobody ever uses LZ4 with the 64 kilobyte cache. It's a 16 kilobyte cache by default. Well, there's some chips, the Apple M1, and the Apple M1 has like a 128 kilobyte L1 cache. So I would insist that working pretty well with a larger hash map is pretty important. But now here's what we're gonna see. Here's the performance change we're gonna see. And it's a little shocking. Look at that. Look at that. Nearly from 477 all the way to 515. I mean, that's crazy. It's pretty crazy if you ask me. And you might be saying, well, 515, that's not a lot. Well, it is. It's quite a lot when you think about how popular this algorithm is. And now, here's another thing we can do. You might be saying, well, is there any reason this is actually important? Well, we can do something here. We can change this. We can change the hash. We can use a 6-byte hash. And for anyone who isn't aware, basically, the hash that you use, if you use a 6-byte hash instead of a 5-byte hash, it gets you a worse compression. But basically, the idea is, if you get less matches, it takes less effort to encode those matches, and also they're higher quality matches, because if you think about it, well, it all works out in the end, whether you think about it or not. So we're just gonna test that here. And yeah, 571. Now that's not quite good yet. I would agree that that's not quite good. But then what if we did this here? Okay, it's a little bit laggy from recording. I actually thought that would be a bit better, but either way, maybe we're working it too hard here. Let's use a 32 kilobyte cache. That'll definitely ease it a little bit. And you might be thinking, oh, but the 16 kilobyte cache is the default. Why would you want to change that? Because, you know, we can innovate here. We can try and change things. We don't need to just accept that LZ4 is the default that it is. So let's see how much better this runs than what we had initially. Okay, well that's worse compression than default. You saw that it was 2.101. Okay, look at that. Higher compression ratio, higher decompression speed, and it's running at 633 megabytes now. 633. What was it running at before? Oh, let's see what it was running at before. Let's go back to the top here. What do we see? Remember, it was compressing at 618 megabytes per second, decompressing worse. So, let's go back to the original. Or, no, let's not go back to the original. Man, this is not very good while recording. It's hard to tell what's actually... But, you know, let's just roll that. Let's go back to this continue statement. And now we're going to reintroduce the branch mispredict here. So if you don't understand what's happening here is every time that you get a match, getting a match itself is a branch mispredict. And so whenever you get a match, it actually breaks the match finding loop. And it will encode the match. The reason that the code has such a different performance is because if you escape when you're outside the sliding window, this actually introduces a new branch and it becomes a new branch mispredict. So the code execution is very slightly different here, where this is a branch mispredict where you keep continuing this loop, and then this is a single branch mispredict where you exit when you find a match. And so this is two branches, a branch mispredict here to continue, and then this is the branch mispredict to find the match. But if we use this and here, we reduce it to a single branch, and it's a single branch mispredict then whenever you find a match. And so that's why it can make using a bigger hash map so much more profitable. And then now look at this, 602. So it's very clear here that using a 6-byte hash and a 32 kilobyte hash map, well, that's worse, or at least it seems quite worse. We shouldn't be doing that. But if you actually get rid of this, then now it becomes quite a bit more interesting as to what solution's actually better. At least I would say so, because I think that there's different variations. Like if you're using a big file, I would consider this. And we can also change the skip trigger. We can tune it a little bit so that using a 6-byte hash seems better. We can do a few things here, but no. As you can see here, this is a big performance hit. And I think that this big performance hit probably makes using a bigger hash map than 16 kilobytes seem way worse by default. So I think that's why they would not have done it this way in the original Z4. So let's just try this. And look, now it's very clear here that we're doing way better than the original LZ4, at least for the Silesia corpus. We could try other corpuses, but the idea seems simple enough that we're able to definitely stretch how much we actually we can stretch the hash map way larger than anticipated. It's actually just this this sticky branch here. So, and we also get a higher decompression speed by using a 6-byte hash, so that's part of the use of this. And I'm also interested here. I wonder how much better it actually is to just have this for the original LZ4 anyways, and then change the skip trigger back. I wonder how much better this is for the initial compression anyways, because maybe, because the logic should still apply even to the 16 kilobyte hash map initially. The logic should still apply that avoiding that branch mispredict is always better. So I want to see that here. I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about when I talk about this branch mispredict. I think I made it clear, hopefully. So we're just gonna do another experiment here. Let's see. 622. Man, it usually runs faster when I'm not recording, so it's I'm a little unhappy with the variance simply caused by using OBS. Okay. Well, now let's change it back to normal. Yeah. And then there's also something that we can do. Once we have a 32 kilobyte cache, and that's what I'd like to show you. So if we look at the original LZ4, you'll see it does this. It fills the table, and basically what Encoder is saying there is with the 16 kilobyte cache, even adding one more entry every time you find a match is useful. The thing about a 32 kilobyte cache is that you could start to more aggressively push even more positions because you have a larger hash map. And well, as you can see here, it actually doesn't seem to make a large difference for the 16 kilobyte cache, like 628 to 626. I mean, that is about a rounding error. So I can see why they wouldn't have considered this heavily, or I can definitely agree with that. But I think let's move back to 15 and let's go to hash 5. Let's change it to the 6-byte hash. And then I think we should also do a little bit of hash pushing. And so I've got this here. Basically, my idea is every time we find a match, we just want to add a little more information to the hash map. So let's see what works here. I'm thinking 3. And now it should be obvious where the advantage comes here. Yeah. Or actually, before I do that, to be honest, I kind of forget what we had initially going here. So we had 2.118. No, it was a 2.134 compression before that. So 6-byte hash. Ooh. Not that much better than default, but once we actually introduce a bit more hash pushing, it should become obvious what we're working with here. So let's go down here. Let's add a few more entries to the hash map, and let's see what we get. So, let's just see. And interestingly, if you look at the C levels file for ZSTD, you'll actually find that a 6-byte hash with a 32 kilobyte hash map is the default for ZSTD fast. So I think that the reason that it works in ZSTD fast is because it actually has this. It has this 512 kilobyte sliding window, and that just prevents the branch mispredict in LZ4. So I think that this is an emergently good choice. And did I mess something up? That doesn't look right. That's way worse than what we had before. Wait, what? Am I being stupid here? What did I do wrong? Did I accidentally set it to a what? Oh my god, I've done something stupid, haven't I? That is a little weird. Oh, I didn't press save here. Okay. Alright. Yeah, I'm sorry for this button. But see, this is also another example I guess I accidentally did. This is why you wouldn't use a 6-byte hash by default, is because the compression is lower, and everyone has decided that LZ4 should have this 2.101 compression. So that's why you don't just use a 6-byte hash and the regular 16 kilobyte hash map, because you get worse compression, and even though it's faster, I mean, we've all basically promised that LZ4 gets its 2.101 ratio. I feel like that's the promise, at least. And so yeah, look at this. Now we have the 2.154 ratio because we're doing that extra hash pushing. So because we're doing that extra hash pushing, now we can actually change the skip trigger, and we can make it lower. And now we can actually, so remember, without the extra hash pushing, we only got to a 2.134 ratio, right? And then once we had the skip trigger, it brought us down to 2.118. But now that we have the hash pushing, bro, go longer. Or stop taking so long. Oh my god, I'm so bored. Alright. And look, because we have that extra hash pushing, now when we use the skip trigger with a 2.140 ratio, we're getting faster compression, and we didn't even have to get down to the, we're not even below the 2.13 yet. So see, we actually, if you use a 32 kilobyte hash map, you use a 6-byte hash, you introduce a bit of skipping, I think it's a bit more optimal than the base LZ4. And not by much, but any improvement is good improvement if you ask me. So that's my thoughts on this. And I mean, look at this. We got faster decompression, we got faster encoding, 2.4. And the thing is, there is going to be edge cases. There is going to be files that compress worse, but we're talking about overall better performance here. Everyone is going to test their own data sets anyways. Like, I don't know. Let's look at mem1.raw. This is a dump of Bickman. 2.503. And I mean, hey, let's actually test this. I haven't even tested this. Let's see if this is an edge case. Let's see if we're gonna have a bad time here. You know, this is a live test. This is a random file. This isn't something you find in a corpora anywhere. It's a dump of Pikmin 2's memory for the GameCube, because I was interested if you could actually compress all of memory into the audio RAM, which the GameCube has, and you can actually have save states on console. And it does look like LZ4 can quite easily compress the memory into a smaller amount that would fit in ARAM. So it seems like it's possible. I don't think I'll actually use it anywhere, but I thought it was a fun idea. So let's see here. If it's worse than 2.503 here, then we're cooked. Then it's pointless. It's the opposite, sorry. If the compression is better here, this is an edge case, and this is an example of how my method's not better, but we'll see here. Okay. Now, here's what's interesting. It's very, very marginally better to use the 5-byte hash and the 16 kilobyte sliding window for this file. But as you can see, the compression is slower, the decompression is slower. So this is what one must think about with trade-offs. You know, is 2.516, 2.5, whatever. It's not much different. But then again, I would ask you. Basically, that's what this video is about, though. I'm uncertain that LZ4's default is quite optimal. That's all this video is. And so just think about that. Think about that. Okay, thank you for watching.